A woman walks into her accountant's office and says she needs to file her taxes. The accountant replies, "Of course, but before we start, I need to ask you a few questions." He takes down her name, address, and social security number, then asks, "So what's your occupation?" The woman says, "I'm a whore." The accountant flinches and says, "Oh no, we can't put that on the tax form. That's far too blunt. Let's find a better term." She thinks for a moment and says, "Okay, then I'm a prostitute." He shakes his head again. "Still too crude. We need something more professional." They sit in silence for a minute, thinking. Finally, the woman brightens up and says, "Got it. I'm a chicken farmer." The accountant frowns. "Chicken farmer? What does that have to do with your work?" The woman smiles and says, "Well, last year I raised over 5,000 cocks." A young newlywed couple was planning their future together when they decided they wanted to join a church. They visited their local parish and asked the pastor how to become members. The pastor said, "We do have one special requirement for new parishioners. You must abstain from sex for 2 weeks to show your commitment to your faith." The couple agreed and went home determined to pass the test. 2 weeks later, they returned to the church. "Well," asked the pastor, "were you able to make it through the 2 weeks?" The husband sighed. "I'm afraid not, pastor." "What happened?" the pastor asked. "Well," the man explained, "my wife was reaching for a can of corn on the top shelf and dropped it. She bent over to pick it up. I was overcome with lust, lifted her skirt, pulled down her panties, and took her right then and there. You understand, of course, that this means you will not be welcome in our church," stated the pastor. "I understand," said the young man. "We're not welcome at the grocery store anymore either." Two friends were sitting around talking, and one of them said, "I tell you, trying to quit smoking is no joke." The other nodded. "Oh yeah, how'd you manage it?" He chuckled. "Well, my wife and I made a deal. We'd only smoke after sex." His friend laughed. "That sounds like a good way to cut back." "Cut back?" the first guy said. "Buddy, I've had the same pack since 1975. What really gets me, though, is my wife. She's up to 3 packs a day." A policeman stops a man and finds a bag of marijuana in his pocket. "You're going to jail for possession of marijuana," the officer says. "Wait, officer," the man replies. "That weed isn't mine. It just keeps appearing in my pocket every time I flush it down the toilet." The cop raises an eyebrow. "Oh, really? I've got to see this. If you can prove it, I'll let you go." "Deal," says the man. He takes the weed from his pocket, tosses it into a nearby toilet, and flushes. They both watch as it disappears down the drain. A few minutes pass. Nothing happens. The officer frowns. "Well, why hasn't the weed appeared in your pocket?" The man looks at him and says, "What weed?"